Well, this is Introduction to Vectors, the very first unit on vectors, and I think you've learned a lot about vectors in R2 and R3. So we had a small test, rather a quiz, for chapter 6.1, 6.2, 3 and 4. So there's an overlap here up to chapter 4, which I've actually given in a playlist where I'm saying vectors 6.2. I took it a bit early. So anyway, first half of the unit is covered in those questions. So go through those questions if you really want to check yourself for the first half of the first unit. Now this is the later half of the first unit, 6.4 to 6.7, in the book written by Mr. Nelson. So in that book, it is the later half of the first unit on vectors. So here are a few questions. So I'll have set of about 10 questions which are simple knowledge-based questions. Then we'll move on to the application questions, and then to communication problems, and then some thinking problems. So by the end of this, you'll be fully prepared for your test. And then you can review your chapter 6, I should say the unit 6, and then take the unit test on your first unit, or it seems to be chapter 6 in another book, right? So that is the whole idea. All the best. The way to do it is that you read the questions, stop the video, answer them. Once you have answered them, written down your answers on a piece of paper, then listen to my suggestions and move on to the next set of questions. That's the way you are going to learn or benefit the most. Here is question number 1. In R3, is it possible to locate half within square root minus 1 and 0? Question 2. On what axis is A 0, minus 1, 0 located? Question 3. Name a vector with tail at origin and head on z-axis. Question 4. What is the equation of a plane that contains the points M 103, N 406 and P 709? So mind it, all these first 10 questions which I am saying are knowledge-based questions, their marks are just 1 each. So you shouldn't spend a lot of time answering them. You should know your answer, and within a minute you should finish them off. So these 4 you should have done by now, right? So here are my suggestions. In R3, is it possible to locate this point? Out of this we have this minus 1 within square root. Is it a real number? It's not real, right? Not real. Important thing in R3 is that all the points, they belong to real numbers. That is what it is. They belong to real numbers, right? If we have a point like this which is imaginary, it cannot be located in R3. Question number 2. On what axis is A 0, minus 1, 0 located? So if you have R3, you know on which axis, right? So X, this represents X, Y and Z, correct? So you're not moving along X and Z, you're moving along Y, and here you are, that minus 1, you see? So it is along the y-axis, do you see? But going negative. So it is along y-axis. So that should be your answer. Name a vector with tail at origin and head on z-axis. So that means you want a vector like this, correct? So you can name this vector, which will be what? So when you name a vector, I'll prefer to use square brackets. That's first thing. And it is tail at origin, so it's a position vector, and head on z-axis, right? So of course it will be 0, 0, and you can write 1 here for pointing towards z. So it will become a unit vector in that direction. What is the equation of a plane that contains the point M, N and P? And what do you notice in that? You notice one thing, that this point is 0. Well, that means it is this plane, right? So that means you're moving along x or z, but not along y, correct? So this is xz plane, correct? So we get answer, it is xz plane. So it's as simple as that. But the point is, you have to answer them fast so that you don't lose time. And keep your memento, answer 10 questions in less than 10 minutes, and then move on to the application, communication, and thinking problems. That ways you should be well prepared for the test. Thank you and all the best.